Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here again. I've been asked to look at the Bitcoin miner or Bitcoin related stocks using the Ichimoku Cloud, and I can't tell you what I use it for. For stocks that have already broken out from the weekly, looking at it on a weekly just doesn't really mean anything anymore. This is MSTR, MicroStrategy. This is the weekly chart. It's pretty obvious. Like over here, weekly service resistance broke above of it, came back down, back tested it, found support, and it just went, pre-parabolic afterwards. So anytime we're above the weekly cloud, generally this is a very, very good indication that things are going to have pretty decent continuation, especially after it back tested and found support and bounced. So this is not going to tell you too much anymore. The weekly cloud is done as far as I'm concerned when it comes to MicroStrategy. Just basically like, here. If you look at a monthly cloud, I made a post back around Christmas when price was pushing around 600. Everybody got super bullish. I was kind of warning and gave a warning here. I was like, I don't know, it's probably going to get rejected right here on top of the cloud and going to come down here, find support maybe around the 400s, maybe around the 500s. Look at my Christmas post. I was requested to do chart review, and this is one of those that I did. Sure enough, it went back down, closed the candle around 500, but bounced down to, like the 440s. Found support down here, and it went up. Basically, what it did is spend about 3 months trying to break out, and then eventually on the third month it broke out. The longer it tries to break out above a resistance level, the more likelihood it's going to break through. And sure enough, when it broke through, it went pretty impulsive and it went pretty parabolic, and that's where we are right now. So the monthly cloud did give you a warning this is probably going to happen. Another thing that tells you on the monthly cloud this is probably going to happen is looking at the tick and the bit below here, basically crossing kind of a bullish cross over here over the Kijun over here, which is a little bit more delayed. So you have a bullish cross here, and the Tenkan has served as a support throughout the entire year, basically pushing the price upwards. Eventually, Kijun came back down, service resistance for about a month or so, and it just went below and it tested as support, and the rest is history. So this is what bullishness looks like. This is what happens when the technicals all finally work out, and this is what happens when the stock is ready to go. Very, very good picture for it. Another stock that is very, very good to look at is Coinbase. Again, the weekly is not going to tell you anything. It's already broken out the cloud. But the monthly is still too early of a stock. It doesn't have enough price history yet, unlike MicroStrategy, to give me a cloud. MicroStrategy has been around since the dot-com bubble days. Whereas Coinbase really only just IPO'd around April 2021. So there's not a whole lot of price history here. I don't have a cloud, but you do have a bullish cross here. Price did turn the Tenkan as resistance, turn into support, and the support, it just keeps on pushing the price up, service support over here. And as the Kijun came down, served a little bit as a resistance over here, eventually it went back down even further, have a bullish cross, and then now you're making a pretty strong parabolic move here. Granted, you're hitting a lot of resistance over here, and if you do a volume shelf, you can see that this is potentially, a heavier resistance area over here. But still, a lot of the hard work seems like it's already been done, and now it looks like it might be getting ready to run, a lot higher after it breaks through this volume shelf here, which can take months, or it doesn't, because things are looking pretty bullish and you have plenty of support below. So that's Coin. The other one I wanted to look at is CLSK. Now CLSK, again, the weekly is not going to tell you so much, it's already broken out, but the monthly here, you can tell that it's right at the rejection level at the bottom of the cloud. If you look at the price history when it started becoming a Bitcoin miner from here to there, you can also see there's a volume shelf over here, which is coinciding with the bottom of this Ichimoku Cloud right here. And you can see it got rejected once, it got rejected twice. Maybe it continues to get rejected this month, I don't know. Maybe your Bitcoin might go sideways or even go down a little bit. Maybe it came back down here and test some of these, taking Kijun levels down here. It did have a bullish cross though, so I think that overall the trend is still very bullish. But it might take another month or two before it pushes up. And when it pushes up, I think it does have a very thick cloud here, unlike MicroStrategy. So when it pushes up, I think it could potentially just kind of go through the top of the cloud and try and come back the other side. It might get rejected somehow, and eventually it might push back up. But I do think this would be a potential resistance level. And if it does, I think that it could potentially go up to the top of the cloud. And it could happen pretty quick if it ends up breaking through over here, depending on what Bitcoin does, of course. The cross here and support here is very important to note. And again, it can serve as kind of like a support, a little bit of resistance here, but eventually broke back above. And now the cross happened here, and both of these lines are going to be pretty decent support moving forward on the monthly. And that's CLSK. The other Bitcoin miners, some of the more bullish ones, again, Bitfarm is one of those. It has yet to have that bullish Tenkan Kijun cross. The cloud doesn't really happen until around really 2026. So there's not really anything to really necessarily break above, although it did start to form kind of like the bottom of the cloud over here. So once the cross forms and once things get going, it's possible for Bitfarms to hit like the $5 range up here. And this is also coinciding with the data here when it comes to volume shelf. $5 tend to be the next thing if it's able to get through all these resistance right over here, which has spent 1, 2, 3, 4 months trying to get over. But with the bullish cross here, with these potentially serve as support, and with Kijun potentially to push the price up even higher, I think it could push up to around here, which is going to be around $5. It's going to be probably the next target. That's Bitfarms. The other ones are, another popular one is Mara. Has been around for a long time. It has a cloud that's formed, had a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross right up here. And I think that it could potentially be getting ready to go push the top of the cloud here around the low 40s. And it could probably end up getting rejected here for a little bit. And then afterwards, after it breaks through this range right up here in the 40s, I think it's going to go into, price exploration mode pretty quickly after that. Right now it's hitting a little bit of volume shelf over here. So I think this is actually going to be the biggest volume that it needs to get over. Above, you're also still going to see a little bit of resistance, but really if you pass through the cloud, or maybe even a little bit here in the top of the cloud right here, after that, there's really more price exploration. There's no known price history to serve as resistance. I think this thing, it can potentially go a lot higher, especially after a bullish cross telling you that you got a bull trend developing. Again, if you look at it weekly, it's not going to tell you anything. It just basically rejected here, bounced back down, punched through the cloud, came back down, almost tested as support, and then just ran up. So the weekly is not going to tell you much after it's already been broken out. Riot is a little bit different. Riot is actually trying to work things out here with the weekly Ichimoku Cloud. The monthly may not be able to tell you as much, although the monthly did have a bullish cross over here, and once it's able to work itself up, it's quite possible once it gets over these kind of volume shelves over here, quite possible it can hit the top of the cloud around the 30s. But it's still trying to work out things here on the weekly. It's still haven't convincingly broken above the weekly Ichimoku Cloud yet. And it did try, broke through up here, went back down, tested support, went back down, broke through underneath, broke through above, and now it's trying to really test the Ichimoku Cloud. You can look at the precision of this thing. It literally just touched the bottom of the weekly Ichimoku Cloud. And it's trying to use this as a support to bounce things upwards. We'll see what happens. But Riot still has something kind of work through here on the weekly, although monthly it does seem to have a bullish cross here, which is more favorable for Riot because longer term trend tends to be a little bit more important. If you get a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross here, most likely the weekly stuff is going to work out. Most likely it's going to push price up, although nobody really knows. This is all a probability game. BTBT, Bit Digital, bullish cross, all the prizes underneath, and then Kijun service or resistance here. So we'll see whether or not it breaks above. We'll see whether or not it can get over this volume shelf over here. And the top of the cloud is somewhere around, the bottom of the cloud somewhere around here in the teens. So it's able to get through all of this stuff. You're really talking about potentially, there's a $9 resistance here. Maybe it pushes through here, or maybe it pushes through higher. All of these are possibilities. The weekly Ichimoku Cloud does tell you something a little bit of a different picture. If you look at the monthly, you had the bullish cross, but Kijun service resistance. If you look at weekly, it hasn't even broken above the cloud yet. It tried to break through above, bounced down, went down and trying to use Cloud as a support, but broke down. Right, this chart actually looks very, very similar to SoFi. I don't know why that is. Maybe it has very similar liquidity sources as SoFi, but this chart actually looks very, very similar to SoFi. I always thought so. It's trying to work through some kinks here on the weekly cloud here. And because of the greater trend, just had a bullish cross, I do think that eventually it's going to break above and go back up higher. But even on the monthly, it still has some things here to kind of work out. So that's Bit Digital. Cipher Mining. CIFR, bullish cross. This one's also interesting because Tenkan is now serving a little bit of a resistance here. You did have a bullish cross, which is favorable, and Kijun is down. It's no longer serving as a resistance, but Tenkan now is resistance. So this is going to be, somewhat of a bullish development here, but it's still not necessarily confirmed because the price is still below one of these lines over here. And there's not a monthly cloud that's being formed yet. There's a lot of price history here. There's a huge volume shelf right down here that needs to work out this business through before it can really break out and go a little bit more impulsive. It's been months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months right around this volume shelf. So it really needs to convincingly break above this level here to go up higher. But this is kind of what I'm seeing here on the monthly. And on the weekly, this right here is having some pretty positive development, trying to push above the cloud. It's staying inside the cloud right now. It looks like it does eventually want to break above. But it still has some kinks to work out. It's not like some of the earlier ones that I was showing you earlier. This one still has some kinks to work out. That's why sometimes looking at a weekly time frame can be helpful and kind of give you a better idea in terms of what's going on. One that I did enter that I found to be a little bit more favorable is Iris Energy, IREN. It did bounce above the cloud, bounce below the cloud, and now it's trying to get back above the cloud here. I want to see whether or not I can find support here. If it does, this is the weekly chart. If it does, it's favorable. You always would expect price to potentially backtest after a breakout like this, to backtest and see whether or not it passes, make sure that it's a good level for it to kind of bounce out of. So far it's testing it. It's in the process of doing it. It's only Wednesday. We'll see how the week closes. And even if it closed inside the cloud, we're also going to need another week to try to figure out what happens next week and see where it goes from there, right? If you look at the monthly, this is a little bit behind the other ones because it's still pretty far away from having a Tenkan Kijun cross. It's the Tenkan line here is still serving a little bit as resistance, but the overall trend is still looking pretty decent. I mean, you're really talking about forming these kind of higher highs here. I just want to see it potentially breaking back up and form a higher high to consolidate, to make this consolidation a really good launching pad to go up, move forward from here. But the weekly tends to seem to be a little bit more favorable. So this is something to consider. DigiHost, I can take a look at that. Very similar to Iris Energy, trying to backtest the cloud from up top on the weekly. On the monthly, still not having any bullish Tenkan Kijun cross, and the Kijun still on the monthly is still served a little bit as a resistance right now. Very, very similar look to a lot of this. Now, let's look at some of the other ones that are, more or less they're a little bit more popular. Wolf, WULF, Terra Wolf. The Tenkan Kijun cross is still pretty far away from happening. It could take a few months for it to happen. When it happens, it might happen quick. I mean, this is a pretty impulsive stock. If you look at what it does, it is forming, a little bit of higher high, maybe a little bit of lower high here, but it's forming a little bit of higher low. I think eventually, once it works this thing out, it will work out eventually. The moving averages are more favorable for a little bit more favorable for Wolf than the Ichimoku Cloud, and I'll also show you the weekly too. The weekly so far, this is actually falling underneath the cloud. It back tested it, failed, and went back down, right? Now all of these stuff, I show you the most bullish one for the beginning. and the least bullish ones towards the end. This is one that is not based on the Ichimoku Cloud. It's not going to be as good in terms of technically speaking, but it does look like it's trying to form, a little bit of a symmetric triangle. It does want to consolidate here a little bit, wait for the next move. And sometimes these things just need to take its time, right? But I'm still favorable on this, and based on moving averages and things like that. But on the Ichimoku Cloud, this is one of the less favorable ones. Hive Digital, same thing, below the cloud, can't get past it. If you look at the monthly, no bullish cross yet. Still pretty far away from the bottom of the Ichimoku Cloud above. Now, those are going to be the key ones. I kind of ranked them already before I pulled them up to show you, but those are going to be the key ones of what I look for from the cloud analysis, which actually a lot of times align with the volume shelf analysis here in terms of support and resistance levels. You're looking for the cross, you're looking to see what a cloud is, you're looking at different time frames. Weekly tells you a little bit different from monthly. Both of those are important, but if the monthly looks favorable, the weekly most likely will work out more favorable. That's just kind of like the basic, like higher time frame is more important than lower time frame kind of thing. Anyway, that's a real quick thoughts on using Ichimoku Cloud Analysis to look at these different Bitcoin stocks and different Bitcoin miners. Thank you very much for your attention. Talk to you later. Bye.